On a quiet evening in the bustling streets of Tokyo, 13-year-old Hiroshi sat at the dinner table with his older sister Aiko. She was his world, his protector, his cheerleader, and the last family he had after their parents' passing. Life wasn't easy, but the two had each other. Aiko worked late shifts at a local shop while Hiroshi spent his days in school dreaming of becoming an artist someday. But that night, peace was shattered. Aiko had gone to pick up groceries after dinner, reminding Hiroshi not to wait up. She never came home. The police found her the next morning, bruised, broken, and silent. She wouldn't speak, wouldn't look anyone in the eye. It took weeks for Hiroshi to learn the truth. As she walked home, she'd crossed paths with Ichiro Narumi, the ruthless mafia don who ruled the city's underbelly with an iron fist. Narumi and his men had taken her. They'd stolen her voice, her light, and her hope. The authorities refused to touch Narumi, too afraid of the vast empire he controlled. Justice, it seemed, would never come. But Hiroshi's heart burned with a rage he didn't know he possessed. He was just a boy, powerless against a man like Narumi. Or so the world thought. Over the next 3 years, Hiroshi disappeared from public life. He left Tokyo, leaving only whispers behind. Many assumed grief had swallowed him whole. But in reality, Hiroshi was on a path no one could have foreseen. Far in the snow-covered mountains of Hokkaido, Hiroshi trained under Master Kenshin, a reclusive former samurai who had turned his back on the modern world. Kenshin had seen the fire in Hiroshi's eyes when the boy appeared at his doorstep begging to be trained, not simply as a swordsman, but as a warrior. "You can teach me to fight," Hiroshi had pleaded, "but I want you to teach me something more. I want to protect what's left of the ones I love." Kenshin could not— Under Kenshin's relentless guidance, Hiroshi transformed, sunlight pounding against his sweat-slicked skin as he practiced sword forms, moonlight bathing him as he meditated through the pain of his scars, both physical and emotional. He learned to master the art of speed, precision, and above all, patience. 3 years later, word reached Hiroshi that Narumi's empire had grown even stronger. For Hiroshi, it wasn't just about revenge now, for Aiko's shattered life and for his own. It was about stripping Narumi of his power, about ensuring no one else would suffer the way his sister had. The boy who had left Tokyo returned as a samurai. As he stood at the edge of a cliff, Hiroshi gazed down at the sprawling city, the first light of dawn illuminating the path he was about to tread. With determination etched on his face, he prepared for the challenges ahead. Gripping the hilt of his sword tightly, memories of his sister flooded back, fueling his resolve as he swore to change their fate. Narumi's empire was vast, but Hiroshi didn't falter. He started with discreet whispers of information, following breadcrumbs to track Narumi's lieutenants. Each of them was a guardian of part of Narumi's empire, and each would fall as Hiroshi inched closer to his ultimate goal. The first was Kojiro, the brute who controlled the docks running Narumi's smuggling operations. Hiroshi approached him one stormy night in the middle of a shipment. Masked and cloaked, Hiroshi struck with the speed of a shadow, his blade slicing through the darkness. Kojiro's men fell like dominoes, unprepared for his precision. Kojiro himself was a mountain of muscle, but Hiroshi's training had prepared him for more than brute strength. Using agility and the terrain to his advantage, Hiroshi ended Kojiro with a final focused strike. The second was Reina, the snake-like woman who managed Narumi's gambling networks. Her operations were hidden within an old high-rise protected by guards and cameras. For this, Hiroshi relied not just on his sword, but on stealth. In the dead of night, he scaled the building like an assassin of old, slipping through locks and shadows to confront her. Reina tried to outwit him, hiding behind guards and traps, but Hiroshi's resolve was unshakable. By morning, the high-rise was silent, all evidence of Narumi's control wiped clean. As Hiroshi fought his way up the ladder, each guardian became harder to reach, harder to defeat. But his sister's broken face haunted him, driving him forward. The heart of Reina's empire was a labyrinth of danger, each corner hiding new threats. As Hiroshi navigated the treacherous layout, he could feel the stakes rising, every challenge echoing the urgency of his mission. Traps triggered behind him, the sound of steel and wood colliding in a rapid sequence, while Reina's laughter rang out like a taunt in the distance. Sweat dripped from his brow, but he pressed on, remembering the pain of his sister's suffering. Every guard he faced was a reminder of what hung in the balance. With a fierce determination, he pushed through until he finally reached Reina's lair, where the showdown would begin. Narumi laughed bitterly, challenging Hiroshi with a piercing question about the futility of vengeance. Hiroshi's grip tightened, hiding his rage behind a calm facade, declaring his intent to end Narumi's tyranny. In one swift motion, Hiroshi's blade struck true, and Narumi fell, taking his empire down with him. Without hesitation, Hiroshi scoured the mansion, finally uncovering Aiko in a shadowy corner, frail but alive, prompting him to kneel beside her with a gentle reassurance that her nightmare had ended. Aiko's eyes sparkled with a mix of disbelief and hope as she absorbed Hiroshi's words, feeling the weight of her despair lifting. Hiroshi tenderly wiped away a tear that had escaped down her cheek, vowing silently to protect her from any further harm as the echoes of their shared past surged between them. With gentle determination, Hiroshi lifted Aiko to her feet, their hands intertwined, signifying their shared resilience in the face of darkness. Together they stood at the threshold of the mansion, bathed in the warm glow of dawn, ready to embrace a new beginning and leave the shadows of their past behind. For the first time in 3 years, Hiroshi saw a flicker of the sister he once knew. Tears streamed down her face as she whispered, "Hiroshi, you came back." He hugged her tightly, and the samurai who had fought so fiercely allowed his tears to fall. As dawn broke and the mansion burned behind them, Hiroshi and Aiko walked away together. There was no undoing the past, but armed with justice and resilience, they could finally begin to heal. With each step, the weight of their shared history lightened, replaced by a sense of newfound purpose. Hiroshi glanced at Aiko, her once dim spirit rekindled, guiding him towards a life where shadows no longer held sway. They knew the road ahead would be challenging, but together they embraced whatever came their way, ready to forge a future filled with promise. As Aiko picked a delicate wildflower, it was a reminder of beauty amidst adversity, signifying her inner strength. They reached a hilltop, pausing to take in the breathtaking view of a valley bathed in morning light, knowing that this was just the beginning of their journey together.